All right, so today in class we talked about the Pythagorean identity. So our Pythagorean identity was sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta equals 1. And we got that by performing the Pythagorean theorem on this triangle here. And this triangle is just from our unit circle. We know that this is our distance on the x-axis, so and that represents cosine. This is our distance on the y-axis, which is sine. So our point here is cosine theta, sine theta. Okay, and that's one thing you need to remember here. So then we said, well, can we find what tangent theta is in terms of sine and cosine? Well, sure, why not, right? Because we know tangent is what? It is equivalent to opposite over adjacent. So if it's opposite over adjacent, you're going to look at the angle that you're given. You're looking at theta. So this is your angle here. This represents your angle. So if your angle's theta, then you're looking at this angle theta. And opposite is the side opposite. So we have sine theta over. And the adjacent side is this side here, which is cosine theta. So, in other words, tangent theta is equivalent to sine theta over cosine theta. Can I change? Okay, so we're going to use this stuff in a minute to help us with solving some of these problems. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started here. So we are given this angle here. We're given cosine theta is equivalent to 3/5. And we want to find what sine theta is. So how can we do that? Well, we can do that by using our Pythagorean identity. Now my pencil's too small. Okay, so we can use the Pythagorean identity. So PI, I'm going to call it sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta is equal to 1. Okay, so then if we know this and we know that cosine is 3/5, we can substitute that in here and get solve for sine. So I know some of you guys seem confused about how to square fractions. So if I have 3/5 and it's squared, I have to square the numerator and I have to square the denominator. So we get 9 over 25. So that's how they get 9 over 25 here. Okay, so 9 over, once you get that, you have 9 sine squared theta plus 9/25 equals 1. So that's kind of this intermediate step right here. And then you subtract 9/25 from both sides. And that's how we get this step here. And then once you go from this step, so 1 minus 9/25 is equivalent to 16/25. And they left it in a fraction because right here you're going to take the square root of this value to get rid of the squared, okay? And they left it as a fraction because these are perfect squares. So 16 squared is 4 and 25 squared is 5. So when it's like this, you can break it up as 16 over the square root of 16 over the square root of 25. So then you get, and remember when you take the square root, you get a plus and a minus. So this is your answer. Now, this is your answer when you don't know the quadrant you are in. So if you don't know what quadrant you're in, then this here will, then this is just your answer here. This is just your answer. But if you know what quadrant you're in, then you can actually find whether the sine value is going to be a positive or a negative. So let's go look at that. So we are given this here. Okay, so now we are going to see that if we're in a certain quadrant, we can determine what the actual value of sine is. So since we have two possible solutions, we have two possible solutions. We have this solution here and this solution here. So if we're told that cosine is in quadrant 4, then we're going to know that sine theta is actually the negative value, not the positive one. How do we know that? Well, if you remember, when we have our axes and our quadrants, 1, 2, 3, and 4, we have different quadrants are positive for different trig functions. So the first one, all of them are positive. The second one, sine is positive. The third one, tangent's positive. And the last one, cosine's positive. So this tells me where sine, cosine, tangent are positive. Okay, it's a V. Now, this makes sense because if sine and cosine represent the points on the unit circle, and they also represent x and y, then this is positive for x. This is positive for y. Negative for x, negative for y. So if cosine is our x value, then of course it's going to be positive here. It's also going to be positive up here where they all are positive. If sine is y, then we know that sine is going to be positive here because y is positive in this quadrant. So you can kind of use that to help you remember also. Or you can use the all students take calculus limerick that I use to help me remember. You can make up anything you want as long as it stands for ASTC, okay? And it goes in a counterclockwise starting at 1. So that's how we determine where our value is going to be positive or negative at. Okay, now let's take that information and find the tangent. So from earlier, we figured out that tangent is sine over cosine. We also were told that cosine is equivalent to 3 over 5. And we found out that sine is equal to negative 4/5. So if we know that tangent is sine over cosine, then we can take sine and plug it in for sine, and cosine and sub it in for cosine. And that's how you get negative 4/5 over 3/5. And then when you divide fractions, you multiply by the reciprocal. In case you forgot, multiply reciprocal. Okay, so negative 4/5 multiplied by, flip the 3/5 and you get 5/3. Cancel these because they are the same and they become 1. So tangent theta is equal to negative 4/3. So when cosine is 3/5 and sine is negative 4/5, tangent is negative 4/3. So that's how you use sine and cosine to find tangent. Let's see here. So then here we go. Okay, so now you are going to do some of your own practice problems. So what you're going to do is you're going to, for these here, you need to find the value, the trig value indicated. So you're going to use the Pythagorean identity to help you with those. And I have made a Canvas quiz for you guys, so you can do these in your notebooks and then just put your answers into Canvas and see if you're correct or not. Since I'm not there, I want you to be able to check your answers and see if you're correct. So that way you can kind of get some immediate feedback while I'm not while I'm not at school. I feel like it's home. But here, keep forgetting I'm not in the sketch mode. Here is this is also a question in the Canvas quiz. There's a total of 5 questions actually. I made this one whole question. And you're going to use your unit circle to help you to discover what these are equal to. So you're going to need to know that cosine theta and sine theta are your x and y values in the coordinates. And then you're going to go to your unit circle, and where is sine 0 at? Well, everything is 0 along this line. So then what is your value of sine? So that's what you're going to do. Then you're going to go to wherever cosine of 5 pi over 6 is at. So where is that, wherever that is at? Somewhere on your unit circle, right? And then you're going to find, so say it was here. Then you're going to go to, so cosine of 5 pi over 6, and you're going to take the x value, and that's what this is going to be equivalent to. Okay, so you're going to find all of what these are equivalent to. You should be able to type all of that into Canvas. If you guys have any questions, please email me. I will be around my email and able to check it. I just want to make sure that you guys are understanding this, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.